Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Birds vs. Boys, our Week 3 preview. We're going to dive into the Dallas Cowboys against the Baltimore Ravens and the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the New Orleans Saints. But we're going to have to take just a moment to talk about a little bit about Week 2, because this is actually the first time Aiden and I have had a discussion, besides a FaceTime or a text, since what happened Week 2. And it was a complete and utter disparaging weekend for both of us, coming off two big highs in Week 1, with Philadelphia with a triumphant win in Brazil, the Cowboys going on the road in Cleveland, and then coming home. Both of them coming home and falling flat on their face in two completely different but absolutely spectacular ways, in terms of the Cowboys losing basically 75-3 to New Orleans, scoring on their first 6 drives with ease, and then the Philadelphia Eagles seemingly having the game in hand, about 97.8% chance to win, and letting Kirk Cousins do what I guess Kirk Cousins does on primetime games, go right down the field and win in the last second. I am K-Mess. He is Aiden. This is Birds vs. Boys. Welcome. If it's your first time here on the YouTube channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are also anywhere you listen to podcasts: Google, Spotify, Apple, Stitcher. We are there, Birds vs. Boys, and social media as well if you want a good laugh and some good breakdowns. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Birds vs. Boys as well. Aiden, how are you?
Don't even ask. I'm exhausted. They've played twice. I'm exhausted. There's not enough coffee in the cup. I'm fine. We'll survive. The sun will come up tomorrow and it'll all be fine. If I just say it'll all be fine, then it will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And it changes week to week in the NFL. So I can't be too upset. There's 31 other fan bases doing the same thing as me.
This week felt like Week 7 in college football, where there's just a slaughter in the top 25. That's favorite. What this week felt like.
That's my favorite week of college football, where they always show the top 10 every week, but there's one week where it's like loss 2, loss 4, 6, loss to 8. That's my favorite week, and we just got it in week 2, and the NFL loves it like that, where we came out in week 1. We talked about it last week and said, hey, we're kind of right back where we started. We're feeling good about our teams. All the answers we needed answered. We're past the flying colors. We're looking good. All the teams we thought would be good are good. And week 2 happened. The NFL was like, it's like going to a haunted house and being like, all right, well, no one popped around that corner. I'll be fine. I'll just stroll right through. And then they're like, guess what's going to happen in the next corner?
Chainsaw in the face.
Chainsaw in the face. Did I ever tell you I got punched in the face one time in a haunted house by accident?
No. By like a ghoul or by another person who was scared?
Alien, a haunted alien, zombie alien. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he punched me in the face by accident, but he came out from around the corner and he's like, oh, just, if you're watching our YouTube, he swung at me and he hit me in the face. And he
did you swing back?
No, he broke character and he was like, oh, sorry. It's the only time anyone's ever broken character at a haunted house with me. But yeah, that was week 2. Haunted house. You're like, well, something's going to pop out and I'll be ready. Then they punch you in the face and it turns out you're not actually ready.
And me actually I worked at a haunted hayride in high school. And my second night actually doing it, I think, worked out exactly like the Cowboys week 2, because I had to get chased by the guy with the chainsaw. I was like the guy running next to the thing, and I was supposed to trip and fall. And I tripped and fell, and I was like, ooh, my knee really hurts. But like the hayrides like keep coming, so you got to keep doing your thing. And finally, like I got a break, and I sat down. And I was like, ooh, I think I'm bleeding. And I like pulled up my jeans and my kneecap was just wide open this wide. I hit like a rock and like I could see like my kneecap. No. I had to get like 27 stitches. So yeah, it was it looked like I actually got hit by the chainsaw.
Oh my God. That's horrible. Hey, that's pretty authentic for a haunted house. You were bleeding real blood.
And the guy that was running it was like a family friend of ours, and he like picked me up on his ATV and he like took me to the emergency room. I was like 15. He's like, listen, I'm not really insured, so we were just running around the house having a good time. Like, it weren't working out. I was like, all right.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely what happened. I definitely wasn't being like, imagine telling the doctor that. How'd you hurt your knee? Well, I was out in the woods and someone was chasing me with a chainsaw.
It is October, Doc.
It is October.
Oh
And that was
god.
the summation of week 2 in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and looking forward from that to week 3, both of our teams in terms of the Cowboys and the Eagles are, I think, feeling somewhat desperate, like a little bit, not extreme, but they're coming off tough losses
Yep.
again for 2 different ways, but now facing completely different opponents, with the Eagles facing a red hot Saints team who has scored the most points in the league. Derek Carr looks like the MVP. And the Cowboys going against a completely desperate 0-2 Baltimore Ravens team, which scares the living hell out of me.
And we still believe that the Ravens are a really good team. So,
Yes.
and like them going to 0-3 would be a total shock. I'll just take it from the Eagles' perspective of why, like, you're 1-1, you're still in a good position. It's not like you got your doors blown off on in week 2 against Atlanta, and you're saying, "Oh man, this team's so bad." Like, "Oh, we're 0-2. Well, you need to win like the Ravens, or else we're in a heap of trouble." The problem for the Eagles and why you'd say, oh, they're desperate in week 3 is some of the problems that you saw last year reared their ugly head again in week 2.
Yep.
And it's going to seep into the locker room that you are just the same team that collapsed at the end of last year.
Yep.
And it's even worse because I think the Saints are going to do a lot of the same things that the Falcons just did to you.
Yep.
They are going to run the ball with a ton of like getting Alvin Kamara to the outside. Like you said, Derek Carr, he's been lighting it up, but I think part of that is they have such a good balance. Their
Yep.
offensive line is playing really well, so he has time
I
to
think they
get
could
it
be the
down the
best
field
offensive
first.
line in the league, Aiden.
They look good so far. Hey, I would put our offensive line through 2 weeks has been phenomenal. It's the least of my
Mhm.
problems. But it's just like there was nothing from that pass rush in week 2 that I'm thinking they're going to go to New Orleans in 5 days and this is magically going to be solved. And I think
Bryce Huff doesn't have a pressure, Aiden.
I'm 6'1", 187. I am convinced I am bigger than him. I look out there watching Bryce Huff tape on the all 22 is like when you see someone who throws up in public and it's gross, but you can't look away.
Yep.
That is how I feel watching his tape. I'm truly in shock of how bad it is. He used to win on a speed rush. He doesn't win in speed. He doesn't have any moves. I
Mhm.
look bigger than him, and I don't know if it's because he's wearing zero, but I feel like I'm backed up by this. There's tape out there. He got blocked by tight ends. We can talk about the
Do
Falcons' offensive line being good. He couldn't get off the ball against the tight end. What are we
is
doing? How's this
is
happening?
is he wearing 0 because that's how many games he's gonna get in the stat sheet this
Oh
year?
my god! Apparently, I think the zero makes it 10 times worse because
I
he
know.
just like looks like a backup running back. I swear to God, I look out there and it's like if I put pads on, I would look like Bryce Huff. Like we look the same size. This is not a compliment to me. This is not a good thing.
Yep. It's speaking of the 0 too, we're in that time frame again early in the season, and especially nowadays with players changing numbers, I feel like
I
all the
hate it.
time. I was watching the Cowboys game, I was watching the Eagles game. I'm like, who the hell's 8 on the Eagles? I'm like, oh, that's Chauncey. Who the hell's 19? Wait, that's Josh
Thank you.
Sweat. Like
Yeah.
the other day, I'm like, for the Cowboys, I'm like 18, 18. I'm like, oh, that's Clark. When did he change to 18? Like it's like
You know what
it
I like?
takes a minute.
You know what I like? This is how I tell I'm getting old. You know who's good? TJ Watt. And he's fucking 99 and he's in the
Yep.
backfield every play. You know who's
Yep.
good? Miles Garrett. And he's 95 and he looks
Yep.
like a beast. He lifts a
Yep.
million pounds and he's 95. And every time you look out there and you see 95, you're like, dear God, please
Yep.
block him. When I look out at the Eagles defensive line, I know it's scheme. I know it's talent, but I'm seeing 0 and 19 and they just
Mhm.
look small and it's being proven true because they get blown off the ball so much. They're out of position all of the time. Like it's just insane to watch. I feel bad for listeners because you're going to ask me a bunch of questions about the Eagles, a bunch of questions about how they'll fare against the Saints. And I'm just going to keep coming back to the defensive line on every answer today.
Um,
It's bad.
same.
Yeah,
Same.
same.
I
Welcome to the BVB DL podcast.
the just I wanna look this up real quick as we're talking about defensive line play, or lack thereof, I think we could say. So far, the lowest graded interior defensive lineman this season, um, Linville Joseph at a 31.4. Jordan Phillips, also on the Dallas Cowboys, at a 29.6.
And also on
Mozzie
IR.
Smith, also on the Dallas Cowboys, at a 28.9. And then DJ Davidson at a 27.1, who took Jordan Phillips' spot when he was traded from to the Cowboys. It's not good. You're speaking of your defensive interior and your defensive line as a whole. I mean, watching the Cowboys' defensive interior against that Saints offensive, literally they were pushed 7-8 yards back every single play.
It felt like it. And that's my main point of concern is what's going to change for the Eagles compared to what the Cowboys did. Because I think in a lot of other areas, I'm like, yeah, I really like I like our roster. I'm fearful based on what happened last week in both of our games that we're just going to repeat it in New Orleans.
The interior play for the Cowboys, I don't know if you saw this or not, is so bad. The guy they just traded for this offseason in Phillips was so bad that they put him on IR with a wrist injury yesterday, and he was in the locker room being interviewed. He was like, "Yeah, my wrist is fine. Like, I'm not hurt whatsoever." And the Cowboys are just like, "You gotta go."
Unbelievable. Yeah, that's
He's
bad.
like, he goes, "This is above my pay grade. I don't know what's going on, but I'm fully healthy."
The clip of him not chasing the quarterback and instead turning around
To
and
fight
trying
the
to
O
hit the
lineman.
tackle is going to that's an all-timer.
That's exactly like what he did against the Eagles last year with the fans. Instead of
Yeah.
just walking where he should have went, he
He got
turned and
he
attacked.
got 3 penalties in that game that helped us.
Uh-huh.
So, that doesn't seem to be the most disciplined player. Yeah, so this is the defensive line is killing what I think there are good things that both of our teams do. I mean, like many have talked about, the Eagles are one Saquon catch away from us
Yep.
not being like, "We're
Or
2 and
or
0. We're
one
we're good."
or one offensive lineman flinch in the neutral zone away from winning.
The one Cowboys content creator we like pointed that out. I actually saw it live. I thought
Mhm.
Judon went over, and I was like, "Oh, offside!" And they didn't flinch, and then you see Sirianni get mad. I thought that's what he was getting mad at. That or they got to the line late, and the plan was to try to get them offsides, but they got there late. And everyone talks about like everyone's mad at Sirianni, and I get it. You're the head coach, so if you lose, you're going to get it. Kevin, we get if the Phillies lose on the Philly Fail Life comments, without a doubt, someone wants Rob Thompson fired.
Fired.
This team is the losingest team ever in professional sports. He's been the manager 3 years. They're going to the playoffs 3 years. They
Yep.
want him fired. Like it's
Fired.
just the name of the game if you're the head coach. That type of stuff, you can say what you want about Sirianni. He's in the right on
Yep.
that play. Like he had that scripted out. And I think he's getting a lot of criticism. I have some criticism of that coaching staff. But you're right there where if they follow his direction there, we're not talking about any of this right now with the Eagles.
No. If the Cowboys, well, did anything on Sunday, we're not talking about this.
Yeah, if
Can
they if
you
they just got to stop on one of the first 6 possessions, we're in good
just
shape.
and the the offense scored 19 in the first half. Like, that's not bad. Like,
Mhm.
they were doing listen, they weren't matching touchdown for touchdown, and when you're in a shootout like that, you need to do more, but the defense literally just didn't show up, and I can't believe on our TikTok, again, Birds vs. Boys on TikTok, I put out a video talking about the defensive performance, and people are like, "They didn't play bad, the Saints just played good." I'm like, "It can be both." Like, yes, the Saints were clicking, but the Cowboys were also aiding that by being horrendous in every aspect of the game.
If someone scores 40 points on you, trust me, it's both. It means they played well and you did not do anything correct, especially in an
And Micah
NFL game.
Parsons even said it. He's like, the effort wasn't there. Like, no, 1 through 11 on the field every time, no one was performing.
Was this on his podcast?
Hmm.
I want to get positive. We'll talk about our offenses. We'll talk about what's good. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. The player podcasts where they
I
come
know.
out and it's like you're the last one I want to hear from after
Mhm.
you lose on a podcast. Darius Slay, Micah Parsons, Debo Samuel, the return characters of like, well, what went wrong? Here's 30 minutes presented by DraftKings. Like, I don't want to hear it.
Yep.
I
We
know it's
saw what went wrong.
hypocritical coming from someone who does a podcast, but you're just like the last one I want to hear it from. Darius Slay, can you just read the room one time?
Yep.
Not everything needs a comment. Not
Yep.
everything needs a tweet. Not everything needs a podcast. When Drake London cooks you for the game-winning touchdown, you don't have to find him in the post-game, handshakes and tell him how well he did. You
Yep.
don't. We don't
Yep.
need it. We don't need a tweet that says, "Oh, that one's on me. I'll get you back." We know.
Yep.
It goes without saying. You are so good, and it honestly bothers me because you get diminished as a talented player because of
Yep.
how much you talk. We don't need it.
Or even didn't AJ Brown tweet on Monday like so proud of my guys or something?
That's a fake account. I don't know how this keeps
Oh,
happening.
okay. All right. I wasn't sure. Okay.
Yeah, so but it's
I got.
people this has been going on since last year. He deleted his Instagram or Twitter account. Someone took the profile. It's not his, and everyone thinks it's AJ Brown. So and it's not like a parody thing. Like I don't know
Because
how
I
it
was
keeps getting
like,
better.
what?
But yeah, I think like I said, this could be the last time we're negative for the rest of the show. I think there's a lot of good things. I have a lot of hope for the Eagles. I think you have a lot of hope for the Cowboys, minus our D line problems. Do we need Micah Parsons to say that the effort wasn't there in front of a microphone? We
No.
can see it. I don't want you to say it. I want you to have effort. I want you to chase down Lamar Jackson in week 3,
Yep.
right?
I don't need you to be like, it started today. We broke down the film. It wasn't easy to do, but we did it, and now we're moving forward. Big week to prove who we are now.
We know.
We
I,
watched. Okay.
the fucking minute that Kirk Cousins got the ball back with 139, I knew I was going to be doing this podcast saying, we know.
Now, when Kirk Cousins got the ball back,
God damn
I
it.
was like, I was literally about to be like, all right, babe, let's go up. She was like falling asleep on the couch, but then I was like, I'm just gonna watch this. And then they did what they did quickly, and I was like, oh, they left way too much time. Like I've seen this movie. I've watched Top Gun 147 times. I know Goose dies. Okay. And I knew what was going to happen in terms of they were going to go down the field. They only needed like 33 yards to get in Jake Elliott's field goal range. This is like the Bills game last year where he hit a 78-yard field goal. Like I know what's going to happen, and then fireworks, and then here we go. And when when Hurts just launched that ball, it felt like it was in the air for 5 minutes, and I was like, oh.
It did. It did. I feel bad about Jalen Hurts. Let's turn the clock. Let's do some positive things.
Yep.
Now we're doing like the Jalen Hurts discussion because of that interception, and I agree. Like bad ball,
Yep.
but you're kind of like you're in such a limited space. One timeout. I do think sometimes he gets overly aggressive trying to push the ball down the field when we've seen, even on that drive before, prevent defense kind of lets things over the top. If you watch that playback, nobody's open. He's trying to make a play with 20 seconds left in a position he shouldn't have been in. And
Yep.
I do feel bad because I thought he commanded that game like
Yep.
an ace pitcher painting the corners.
Yep.
I thought he was phenomenal. He completed over 75% of his passes. He was not in a position to throw the interception if Saquon doesn't drop a ball that Jalen hits him in the hands with. It's the best he's looked running
Yeah.
since
Yep.
like
I
week
agree.
2 of 2022 against the Kirk Cousins led Vikings. There was a lot to like from him. He was operating without his best weapon, and they were able to move the ball down the field constantly. Even, the things that would stop them were more so like penalties and stuff like that. There was a drive, like they didn't score in the first half going for it on 4th and 3, but he got them down the field.
Mhm.
So he got them down the field all night. The 17 play, 9-minute drive, 70 yards for TD, and the 2-point conversion, masterful. So there was a lot to love from Jalen Hurts, and all anyone's going to remember is a interception that he put up there in the crux of the game because we couldn't get off the field against Kirk Cousins. So
After
that
the defense blew it
as
and his star running back dropped basically the perfect pass.
Correct. So, as someone who's been very critical of Jalen Hurts and his leadership style, his throwing style, his knees, like I was sitting there. I wrote all this stuff down to do a post game show about how masterful he was, and I genuinely feel bad that we're now doing the Jalen Hurts thing again. That, oh, is you the guy? Like, yes, he was the guy.
Mhm.
He
Yep.
was he was the best player on the field.
Yep. He handled business.
Yeah,
Your
which
defense and
gives you
your
hope.
25 million guaranteed running back did not in the end.
Correct. And I feel bad for him too because he had that one drop and I thought he was phenomenal for the rest of the night.
Yep.
The
Yeah.
offense, I really have no qualms with. The illegal man downfield penalties they have to solve. Aside
Yes.
from that, I mean, what did they really do wrong? The penalties
Eh,
killed them, but the offensive line has been phenomenal through 2 weeks. Jurgens looks good taking place for um Kelsey.
Kelsey.
Lane Johnson's been Lane Johnson. Saquon's running great behind them. I thought Jalen Hurts as a runner and a thrower, like I said, best since 2022. This has been a good offense, I've thought so far. And play calling wise, you can question the play at the end. I have questions about going for it in the first half. I have questions
Yep.
about the play calls before you go for it in the first half. But aside from that, I think it's been pretty good. Like it's at
Yep.
least like a B plus A minus.
What are your thoughts about Kyle Brandt's rant? Did you watch that?
I did, and I thought a lot of that was true. I'm trying to remember all of it. I know he said they're not 1-1, they're like 2-7 because they collapsed,
Yep. Going
which is
back, a
true.
lot of the same issues.
Same issues, and I think, but again, I think a lot of that's on the defensive side of the ball. Like they can't get pressure, they can't get stops, they can't force turnovers. It's bleeding out
He's
into the rest of the team.
he's done with the big Dom.
I am too.
It's almost getting to like the pregame thing it's
Yeah,
he's like, "Just go be head of security."
I agree.
It was kind of cooler when he was like that mystical feature.
Yeah, like who's this big who's the mafia boss that they keep on
Yeah.
the sideline? I totally
Yeah.
agree with that. I think we're at a point where they probably will tone it down. Like I think Monday night was a spectacle. It was Nick
Yep.
Foles night. They did pregame at Xfinity Live and they've got Kelsey on stage with the gritty
Yep.
tattoo guy and
Yep.
Foles and Cox come out and take the dog masks off and Santa Claus is on stage and it's a big
Yep.
spectacle. And he does the bit with Big Dom. They play a bunch of 1 o'clock games against the NFC South here coming up, and then they have a bye week. This is a time to
Play
figure it
football.
out. Keep doing what you're doing on offense. No more spectacles, right?
Play football.
Play football. Yeah, this
Yep.
is a real play football, finish games stretch for the Eagles.
And that Dallas Cowboys too. And I think
Yeah,
it starts this week, 1 o'clock at home against the Baltimore Ravens. Like,
4 o'clock.
are you going to be what everyone thinks you are in terms of being soft and getting punched in the mouth? Can't stop the run, can't do this, can't do that? Or are you going to stand up, fight back, not go 0-2 at home, and force a very good Ravens team to 0-3? Who are you? This is a very big who are you deep down week because, again, we heard Micah Parsons say it, but we all saw it and we all know
We
this is the
know.
week to look yourself in the mirror and get better. Are you going to do it? Or are you going to come out against probably the most prolific running quarterback, if not number 2 behind Mike Vick all time?
Mhm.
And we know historically what the Dallas Cowboys defense it's funny. We're on like our third defensive coordinator in a row. Same issue in terms of not being able to stop the run.
Mhm.
And we also know that they always have issues in terms of stopping dynamic players, right? We've seen it with Kyler Murray 84 times. Like, what are they going to do?
Who's
And I'm
Kyler?
terrified of what they're going to do.
Yeah, true. Very true. I can't believe I'm saying this in week 3, but you look at both of our teams, like wins this week, and you feel like springboard. As bad as week 2 went for us, if you win
Yep.
in these weeks for separate reasons, you're feeling like springboarded towards making it to the playoffs. For the Eagles,
Yep.
you're beating a 2-0 team on the road who looks to be like a playoff contender. You're 2-1, and you've beaten 2 playoff contenders so far. For the Cowboys, you get a win at home. You're feeling good about yourself. To win this game, you'd have to stop the run, whether it's Derrick Henry or Lamar Jackson improvising, and you send who we thought would be a Super Bowl contender to 0-3. Like, that's a killer instinct that you would love to see from this team, especially in a bounce back situation. So, as crazy as it is to say, there's leaves just starting to fall. It's still 75 and shorts weather every day. It's
Yep.
far from the end of the road, but what a springboard these wins would be this week.
Because especially the springboard into what then the Cowboys have in terms of going on the road against the Giants, which they should win, and then going on the road against the Steelers. And I know the Steelers are 2-0, but I don't think anyone's terrified of them right now.
The defense, yes, the offense has
Yep.
no firepower. It's like your
Yep.
prototypical Steelers teams of the past few years where it's like, could they make it to 10-7 scoring 15 a week? But
Be-
you're right though. Like that could be a big win for the Cowboys if they can get it. And the Giants, they've absolutely dominated over the years. So yeah,
because then there's a stretch, Aiden, of Lions, 49ers, Falcons, which we just saw the running game, and Eagles,
yeah,
Texans. Like Lions, Niners, Falcons, Eagles, Texans. That's not fun.
you're the gauntlet team this year. You got the gauntlet. Last year we had the gauntlet. This year you got the gauntlet.
And then you have Commanders, Giants, Bengals, and then Andy Dalton and the Panthers.
That's a sad, sad scene.
That's like, how does the coach come out and be like, he's our quarterback, and literally 12 hours later, it's like, yep, we're going to Andy Dalton.
We're going to Andy Dalton. It's never. Listen, as a fellow Red guy, I want to see Andy Dalton succeed. Pretty crazy to be in a situation where you're like, yeah, Andy Dalton is going to give us the best chance. I can't believe we're talking Panthers on our podcast. I think they got problems well beyond who's starting at quarterback in week 3. They did everything you're not supposed to do when building around a franchise quarterback. So that is pretty crazy, but you're right. I do think it'll get tougher, but I think, like we said, winning this week springboards you. Now, in terms of both of us winning, how do we do it? Because I don't think, as I mentioned, this is just a quick fix where we'll suddenly get a pass rush. You'll suddenly stop the run. What do the Cowboys do? What can my Eagles do so that we can counteract that and still win despite our weakness?
The Cowboys are going to have to force Lamar Jackson to throw the ball. Right. And I'm not this guy who's here is like, he's a running back. No, he's won 2 MVPs. He can throw the ball. But we know if you force him to throw, there's a chance he will throw it to you. And the Cowboys in the past, right? I know under Mike Zimmer's defense, they said that they're probably not going to have as many turnovers as they've had in the past. You don't have Deron Bland, but you still have Trayvon Diggs. Forcing them to throw the ball, being able to, I don't think they're going to completely choke the run out. They're not going to completely stop the run. It's Lamar Jackson. It's the Ravens. It's what they do. But if you're able to contain it and force him to throw the ball and get 1 or 2 turnovers, that's how you flip the field. And that's how your offense against this Ravens defense, who has not looked like the Ravens defense of the past lately. Marlon Humphreys is getting MF'd out of the stadium by Ravens fans the other day. You can attack them, especially on short fields. So forcing Lamar to put the ball in the air, getting a turnover or 2, and they're also going to have to win, I think, the special teams battle. You got 2 unbelievably good kickers in Justin Tucker and Brandon Aubrey. And then you have a phenomenal returner for the Dallas Cowboys in Turpin. He needs to give that offense over and over again good field position, because with this running game that the Cowboys, or lack thereof right now, it's pretty funny. They asked on Sean and RJ with Jerry Jones this week, of his first of probably 17 interviews this week, about the running game and if they're going to elevate Cook or if they're going to go out and find somebody. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I love our running backs, love our depth. We just didn't get to run them this week. No. Okay. It just that yet. I don't understand the philosophy, Aiden. They're running Zeke to the outside and they're running 4-foot Deuce Vaughn on the inside.
I did see that.
What are we doing? And like, it was constant screen passes to Turpin behind the line. I don't know if it was like, we're not as physical as these guys. We're just gonna have to get the ball out quick and try and get in space. It's almost like screen passes to Britton Covey in the red zone. I don't know what's happening.
Uh, hey, I will say one thing about Britton Covey. Let's finish the Cowboys, then we'll get into the Eagles. I do want to throw him some praise, but you're right. I think I noticed that too with the Deuce Vaughn thing, where maybe they see something on film and can kind of switch that up. With even if you don't like the depth at the position, they can at least change schematically what they're doing at the position. And yeah, I think Brandon Aubrey. It feels like you need 15 yards these days, and you're in his range.
They will try a 70-yarder. I think this year at some point. If
I
in
genuinely do think they will,
Yep. I
especially home at AT&T Stadium, climate controlled.
and I think Mike McCarthy gets off on long field goals. I really do.
Should have
He
let him
you know,
take them
we know
71-2.
Rex Zimmer had a foot fetish, right? And a Mark Sanchez tattoo. I think Mike McCarthy has a long field goal fetish.
He might. That technically is still foot fetish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technically, you're right. And another thing that they're going to have to do to win this game is CeeDee Lamb's going to have to show up in a big way. I know he had the amazing touchdown the other day, but it was also just very bad coverage. With that one catch, I think his numbers look skewed with the 90 yards. Um, he was okay week one, wasn't great. He's going to have to step up this week and be CeeDee Lamb, right? 12 catches, 132 yards, and a touchdown or two, and just take over this ball game. I'm also hoping for Jake Ferguson to be back. Now, Luke Schoonmaker was the highest graded offensive player this past week. He finally stepped up, second round pick from Michigan last year. Probably the best performance of any Michigan player outside of Jordan Lewis. The Cowboys have drafted in a long time. Thank you, Taco Charlton. Thank you, Mozzie Smith. But he finally did something. But they need Luke Schoonmaker, or I'm sorry, they need Jake Ferguson back in the mix as well. If those two guys and you mix in Brandon Cooks, they need to just consistently be able to move the ball. So choke out the run as best as you can, force Lamar Jackson to throw the ball, and hopefully give it back to you 1 to 2 times, and short fields through Turpin, and actually attacking this Ravens defense. I don't want them being reactive to the defense. Attack the defense. Let CeeDee Lamb go out there and be who he is.
I
That's how
like
you
that.
win on Sunday.
And force feed him too, right? Like there's
Mm-hmm.
no problem continually targeting him if he's available. So
We'll
I like
see.
to
I mean,
go with the
I will tell you this though: there is going to be a lot of Ravens fans there, just like there were a lot of Saints fans. I don't. There was a literal parade outside of AT&T Stadium with French horns and tubas. Who travels with a tuba? That's my question.
is
But
that your
there was a
carry-on
full
item
parade.
or do you put that under the plane?
I I would think New Orleans might be like close enough that people drive. Probably, I think they probably could.
Close enough.
Maybe those people. But I've been at AT&T Stadium in these situations. I was there for, I think it was Des Bryant's rookie year. He had a punt return touchdown while I was there, but it was against the Bears. My brother's a Bears fan. And we were in the parking lot and walking through, and I was like, this is not going to be good. The amount of Bears fans, they had drum lines. They were going through the um, the terrace of AT&T Stadium inside with drum lines. Bears fans. I was like, and they lost. So I think we know that's the narrative, right? AT&T Stadium gets taken over a lot. We know that Jerry touts we were the quickest season ticket holder. Yeah, but guess what? They sell them.
Yeah.
That's what they do with them. It's called a business.
Yeah.
But Jerry doesn't care. As long as it's filled up, as long as the hot dogs are flowing, the Cowboy Ritas are flowing, the money's coming in, he doesn't give a shit.
The
Not
Cowboy
home field
Rita.
advantage.
The Cowboy
Hmm?
Rita is my favorite thing. I actually
We
want
got
to
to
have
get
one.
down there and try that.
Yeah, honestly. The first time we do a Cowboys game down there, we're definitely doing that.
We're going to be hammered. So, that's how they win. I listen. I don't see it. I really don't. For a multitude of reasons, the way the Ravens play is a very bad matchup for the Cowboys, and the Ravens are so desperate.
Yeah,
I wish they were 2-0
I was
coming
gonna
into this
say
game.
this is the worst spot to be in with the Ravens.
Like, uh, I'm terrified. Now, I get it. The Cowboys were just demoralized on national TV, in front of Tom Brady, and I'm pretty sure Tom Brady's going to be there again this week, 3 for 3.
I think you're the CBS game. I think
Oh,
you
is it
got
CBS? Oh,
it's
okay. All right,
CBS
so
with
Romo.
the AFC is the road team, so you've
Yeah,
got
that's right.
Tony Romo, my
Yeah.
good friend, so
Tony
maybe he'll bring some
Romo.
good vibes back.
So, I don't know. I think I see it being like a 28-21 type game. Ravens win.
Similar, I mean, that's kind of similar to
Actually,
what
no, there's no way the Cowboys scored 21 because they're gonna have field goals. They're gonna have no,
28-24.
yeah. Oh no, they could score 21 and have 7 field goals, just like the Washington Commanders did to beat the Giants the other day.
Wild, by the way. Also, Malik Neighbors, good.
Yep.
Good.
Jordan Daniel's not.
Jaden Daniels?
No, Jaden Daniels is very good. The other Daniels in the Daniel Jones, sorry.
No, Daniel Jones. Not
Yeah,
good. Not good. Yeah.
not good. Did you see that people are calling him what is it? Daniel Jones Zalele because of DJ Uyunglele and
Oh, at
DJ
Florida
the
State.
Giants, both not good.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, man. Florida State.
Arch Manning, good.
Good. Arch Manning, good. Malik Neighbors, good. Welcome to our show. Come for the complaints and stay for the hard hitting analysis.
We're gonna tell you who's good and who's not. Mozzie
Yeah,
Smith, not good.
as you said, not good. Nolan Smith, maybe also not good.
I don't know, man. There's some questions about some of your Georgia boys, and
Yeah,
I'm sure we can touch on that right now.
let's do it. So Eagles, in terms of how they win, I don't like that the only strategy that seems to work is to just never have the defense on the field. In
Yeah.
week 1 against the Packers, they had a 7-minute drive in the fourth quarter, and against the Falcons, they had a 9-minute drive in the fourth quarter. There are some things that the defense has done well. I think they've held up in the red zone quite often. Even last week when they were put there by turnover, not by the Packers moving the ball down the field. So you can rest on that. Again, I hate to keep doing this. I think the secondary has been above average. Are they good? No, but they didn't exactly get dog walked by Kyle Pitts, and Drake London didn't have much until that catch at the end of the game for the touchdown.
I believe
Uh,
that was his first touchdown in 14 games.
Yep, it's the Falcons are a case study for a variety of reasons.
Big time.
So they do good things. It's just this defensive line. I don't know what they do. And I think what they're going to get hit with is something similar to what the Saints did last week. So the Falcons were running a lot of outside zone. It's pretty much like get these guys going side to side. We're not going to run into the belly of Jordan Davis. We're just going to run to the side. I loved what Thomas Booker gave you. I think he'll be on the field more, and I'm excited to see that happen. Like, if that is the plan, I'm still a big believer in Jalen Carter. I think he blows up games. People were really negative on him. I still think he made a few plays. And I think it's Milton Williams making plays. I think it's Thomas Booker and just trying to get the combo of speed and strength in there, especially in this matchup against the Saints. So I think that's one way to do it. I'm assuming they'll bring more pressure. I know that's a dumb answer where it's like, well, you can't get pressure. What are we going to do? It's like, that's like a Civil War military strategy. It's like, well, that's how the Union ended up winning, where they're like, what if we just bum rushed and we'd lose a bunch of guys, but we have more guys, so it'll just work. Like that seems to be the plan. Is like we have guys out there, but they're kind of getting killed off. Bryce Huff, Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith. So what if we just send more until it works? So I think
That might work.
it might work. So I think you'll see more pressure this week, but I don't think it'll be like a ton of blitzing.
Yeah. Got to tell you that offensive line, Ruiz is a tough son of a bitch.
Yep.
Fuaga, who we
Oh.
both loved, looks like he's playing at an all-pro left tackle level already.
Yeah. It'll be another great offensive line matchup. Like I said, I cannot sing the praises of our offensive line enough. We got to figure out this illegal man downfield penalty situation. But aside from that, they've been creating holes for Saquon. I think some of the designed runs, I thought one of them was brilliant. I love the design. I mean, there's multiple times like you see Dickerson and Juergens getting in there. They hit a guy, they double team a guy, they're on to the next level, and you're like, nobody touches Saquon for 10 yards. And you love to see that because you want to beat the Saints. You're so worried about Shaheed beating you deep. You're worried about Kamara having a 3 touchdown game. if Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens are 4
Yeah, 4.
touchdowns, apologies. If Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens are blowing these guys off the ball 5, 6, 7 yards down the field, that limits the opportunities. Like mitigate your risk, I think is how I'm feeling with the Eagles and their defense. Like mitigate your risk, limit the amount that they are on the field and the snaps that they are on the field.
And that just I just want to touch on something that I did not mention before when we're talking offensive line. Zach Martin looks human this year so
Uh-oh.
far. Not bad, but human, and he's never looked human before in his career. I would not doubt Aiden, and I tweeted this the other day that I think this will be Zach Martin's last year.
That'll be sad. That'll
I
be
think he
very
will
sad.
retire. And Cooper Beebe didn't looked great week one, not good week two. Guyton looked good week one, not good week two. But that's what's going to happen when you have two rookies on
Yeah.
the offensive line.
The whole teams look that way across the NFL, right? Like
Yep.
it's just kind of the parody of the situation. So Quinion Mitchell looked great, and then I think people pointed out he in the 2 minute drill he kind of didn't necessarily know where he needed to be. Took an underneath route, it opened up someone behind him. It,
Yep.
that's rookie. That's young guys playing. And
Yep.
I think they're going to flash and do a lot of good things, and sometimes they don't. But I'm excited to see him this week. I don't know if he'll be on Olave or if they give it to Slay, or if they're kind of in the zone, depending on what side of the field. I don't know, but Avante Maddox played better, so there are good things. There are good things, and I'm ready to state it here, but I think they can get the win there in New Orleans.
I think they can too. I think again we're on the opposite sides. Sometimes you want to play that team that's riding high and feeling good, especially coming off two
Yeah,
straight games of putting up 40s. Um, the only thing is coming back home, playing in the Superdome can be tough. I'm sure
can
there's
be
going to be
tough.
a lot of Eagles fans there too. It's a travel destination. Eagles fans travel, but that
Yeah,
place is loud. It's going to be very loud for some of those rookies, right? It's going to be loud for Jurgens playing center.
hmm
But this is that type of game where it's like, okay, I see
yeah,
this. I see. Now we kind of see who they could be. Um, I think we've seen the good and the bad both
yeah.
weeks for the Eagles. Um, and I could see this being one of those games where they come out with a win.
I think so too. Just based off it, you got to get one back. It balances it out. You should be 2 and based on how your play. You should be 2-1 after 3 weeks. How you got there probably doesn't make sense, but you got there, and that's all that matters. And just real quick, I don't think that they'll have AJ Brown. I think the problem with his hamstring is that an injury occurred on a Friday, so we're
Yep.
we're not basing it off like, oh, it's been 2 weeks since he played in Brazil. We're basing it like it hasn't been 1 week yet
Yep.
with the hamstring injury. So I'd
And he
assume,
basically said to I think to Lisa Salters that he thinks it's going to be a couple games.
yeah, they uh, Tampa, hopefully in next week. Let's hope. But even then, I'm not entirely sure.
Yep.
We'll see. Yeah, so I don't think they'll have him, and I think more of the same from the offense. I think there are some things that they could tweak, like I mentioned, and just cleaning up some of the penalties with the illegal man downfields that kind of got them off balance. I know people want to see Jahan Dotson and Dallas Goddard more in the offense. Britton Covey is getting himself open and catching the
Mm-hmm.
ball in the most literal form of his job. He is doing
Catch
it.
the ball.
Like he has been reliable. He is getting himself open. And when it's thrown to him, he makes tough catches. Like he'll never get yards after the catch because he's tiny, but at
Yep.
the same time, he's open. He's catching it. I know people want to see Goddard and Dotson, and I get that, but Hurts is throwing to the open guy who was reliably catching it. In the most pure, literal
Jesse
form of
Bates.
football, they're doing their job.
He started to Jesse Bates.
He's throwing it to Jesse Bates, which is the most literal not doing your job.
Yeah, no,
Oh
I
boy.
agree. He's gonna throw it to
I
Dotson
think
will have his weeks.
Yep. I think you're gonna see a lot of scheming open for Goddard this week. I don't think they've run any tight end screens to him yet. Hurts has been better at getting the tight ends the ball over the middle of the field when blitzes come. Another thing that I've been really excited about with him. So I think you'll see more of Goddard this week. This could be your Goddard game that he sneaks in the back of the end zone for a TD, or he has the long tight end screen for a play. Middle of the field, he's working. I think you'll see more Goddard.
I can't believe I'm saying this about a Derek Carr offense, but you want to really control the ball this week and keep them off the field
Yeah.
as much as you can.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's hilarious. Mitigate your risk. That's
Yep.
kind of why I didn't want them to throw that to Saquon on 3rd and 3. It's like mitigate the amount of time, mitigate your risk, your liability back there, your pass rush.
Yep.
You're right though, but they have been pretty good at that. They doubled up the Falcons in time of possession there in the second half until that end of the game situation. So
I think
yeah,
it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be an interesting week for both of us. Like you said, springboard games that are completely
up in the air.
our opponents are uh, need to win this game for completely different reasons. The
Yeah,
Saints
yeah.
want to put a stranglehold and say and show that they are one of the best teams in the league, and the Ravens are trying desperately to say, yeah, we are not close to an 0-3 team.
We are still one of the best teams in the league. We haven't
Yes,
fallen off quite yet. Well, yeah, so I think it'll be 2 really interesting weeks, a big Sunday. Let's do our power rankings before we
yep,
get out of here because it's a jumbled mess
it
after
is.
last week.
It is. All right, so I can go this week. We'll go when we do our power rankings. If it's your first time here watching the show, thank you. We go from 5 down to 1. Weekly power rankings. It is an ebb and flow. It is a working document, as the young people in the Salesforce say.
Oh,
So we are going to go down from 5 to 1 here. At 5, I have Jim Harbaugh. That's it.
well,
We know what the Chargers usually and always are. Jim Harbaugh comes in. He's giving quotes. He's like, I like guys that like football. Guys that like football like me. And when I'm around guys that don't like football, I try and make them like football. That's my kind of guy.
fair enough. Me too. At 5, I have the Saints, the Eagles' opponent this week. Hard not to put them on the list after back-to-back 40-point performances. We'll see if we can slow Alvin Kamara and that offense down.
5 for me, I have Sam Darnold and the undefeated Minnesota Vikings. I don't know how, but he could be one of those quarterbacks that was taken very high, and it just took 8 years to finally figure it out and put it all together. And now he's the quarterback everybody thought he might be coming out of USC.
Yeah, there you go. At 4, I have the Texans. We've been high on them all off season. We're going to continue to do so as they go to 2-0. Big win on Sunday Night Football. Division win in week 1. They're off and cruising.
3 for me, I have the New Orleans Saints, who just beat the ass of my Dallas Cowboys, and we'll see what they do against the Eagles this week. Most points scored in the league so far. They can score in a multitude of different ways, and Alvin Kamara looks like prime time Alvin Kamara right now.
At 3, I have the Chiefs snuck out of there with a win against the Bengals on Sunday. For a minute there, you thought they were going to lose, but big comeback win for them to go to 2-0.
2 for me, I have the Chiefs as well. I usually keep them always at 1, but yeah, I mean, sneaking away. Travis Kelce has not played Travis Kelce football yet. Patrick Mahomes, I think they got away with one there at the end with the pass interference on the Hail Mary. I think it was the right call, but usually you don't see that call made. Maybe if it's Andy Dalton throwing that ball, you don't get that call, but they got the call. They're 2-0, and they're still the Chiefs.
Yeah. At 2,
But
I
they
have
did
the
lose Pacheco. They're not getting Hollywood Brown back, and a reunion with Kareem Hunt.
All right. At 2, I have the Chiefs. They go to 2-0, and they've beaten their two biggest rivals over the past few years. So I think there's something to be said about that, to take care of business against some of your toughest components early in the year.
1 for me, I have the Texans. They are cool. They beat the living shit out of Caleb Williams the other night. Like literally just beat him down. CJ Stroud looks good. Diggs, Mixon. What a great trade for them to get Mixon. He just fits that offense perfectly. Texans at 1.
At 1, I have the Chiefs. I just don't see the point in putting 5 teams on this list. Like, we are all just floating on a giant orb at the same time as Patrick Mahomes, and nothing else matters as long as we exist at the same time that he exists as a football player. Nothing matters. Go outside, see an art exhibit. Your team isn't better than the Chiefs.
I honestly, when you said Chiefs too, I was like, wait, did he misspeak? But now I got it.
Nope. I said Chiefs 3 times.
I was like, wait, did I not hear that right at 3? But yeah,
I played
perfect.
it. I thought I played it off pretty well. I could tell I
You
got
did.
you. I was like, yeah, 2, I have the Chiefs.
Oh,
Got
that's
him.
great. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Again, like I said up front, if it's your first time here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're so close to 1,000. We appreciate the comments. We appreciate the likes. We really love to interact with all of you. So make sure you hit that comment section anywhere you listen to podcasts as well. If you're driving in your car, if you're on a walk, on a run, you can listen to us as well in your AirPods or in your Beats. Birds vs. Boys pods, anywhere you listen to podcasts, we're there. And we just have so much fun on social media. So make sure you're following us there, Birds vs. Boys as well. TikTok videos, Instagram posts, and tons of tweets. We are heading to week 3. It is almost fall. It's going to be a beautiful weekend here in the Northeast. Figure it out, guys.
And we will be live after the game's on Sunday. So hopefully we're talking wins.
Are you guys playing? What are you at 1 o'clock too? Or
1 o'clock.
Oh God,
You're 4 o'clock.
Yes, yeah. But I'm gonna have to go from 1 to 4, deal with my wife, and then 4 o'clock, which means 7, 8, 9 minutes left in the game is bath time for me to give my 2.5-year-old a bath. So we'll see what kind of bath it's going to be.
You're running your own 2-minute drill over there.
Exactly. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We will be back with 2 episodes after on Sunday, and then another full episode next week. Enjoy the football tonight, on Thursday, the college on Saturday, and tons on Sunday and Monday.
Chris Hansen here, and I'm going to need you all to take a seat right over there and check out Birds versus Boys.
I think you're completely right here, and I hate it.
Hey, idiots. Stop doing dumb things. I got 2 phones. Upset alert. Upset alert. I might go insane.
I think you're already there.
There's no hope. Hope is gone.
If this was an AFC North podcast, we'd be done in 15 minutes.
Bob Hope.
I'm going to drink bleach.
That is
the team you promised me you were going to be this year!
This is the Consciously Hopeful podcast.
I'll be watching.